So you've tried posting more, you've sent a ton of freebies, maybe you've invested in a 10K mastermind, but clients still aren't consistent and you're still stuck below 2K, which you can't pay back that 10K mastermind yet because you're still not consistent. Now, the truth is you're not broken and it's not your confidence or what they're providing you. All those solutions are still holding you back because the real reason you're stuck is that you don't have the right system. Now, if you were just a sales closer, a simple checklist is enough. But as a business owner, it's not. You need 3 pillars that make your growth predictable. You need insights, systems, and leadership. And today, I'm going to show you how they all work together. I am Katie Hahn, and I have been in business for almost 20 years. I have run traditional businesses, those in the online and coaching space and info space, but I've also been a top performing high ticket closer. I know exactly what you're going through. And I also know how to get you from where you're feeling that chaos into really that stability and growth. That's why I created this channel. I help women go from chaos to clarity with simple systems and to predictable growth using 3 simple things. If you've been craving this information and wondering what you're still missing, hit subscribe, follow along. I'm going to give you those nuggets that's actually going to fill in the gaps and get you to where you want to go. In a previous video, I talked about the weekly sales checklist, and this is my 3-part system for closing sales. If you don't have it, go down into the comments and into the description, and you will find a link for it, and you can download it for free. But back to it. So we're going to start here. I shared with you that there's 3 parts for the sales system. And it's where you pull the data from your calls and really do the discovery, confirming the next step and making sure that they're prepared before the call, and then nurturing consistently. It works. I have used it time and time again, and I was actually able to hit my KPIs personally as a closer, even when months had 0 new calls on my calendar. Now, for a closer, this system is enough. But you're not just a closer, and that's the problem. You're a business owner, and that means this checklist alone won't take you past 2K. It will definitely help in that one area, but your business is not just that one area. So the business owner's problem. This is where so many coaches get stuck. They rely on piecemeal fixes. A script here, just the marketing piece here, the social media strategy over here. That is all great, but it's not enough. It doesn't add up to the foundation and systems as well as the strategy that a business owner needs. Without the full foundation, you're stuck in chaos, which is unpredictable income, creating anxiety, which is going to creep through into your own mindset. And a lot of people just quit. I mean, the stats show it. 82% of coaches quit before 2 years. And I don't want you to be that stat. So let's just keep going through and tell you what you need to know to be successful. So my 3 parts to this are in pillars. I'm just going to break them down for you. The first part is insight. This is really the business insights. Now, as a closer, I didn't care about profit margin. I only cared about my personal KPIs. But a business owner, and as me in that role now, I can't afford to guess. I need real insight into my numbers, which are close rates, clients' retentions, book calls, all the pieces that work together to show me where my business is leaking so that I'm not flying blind. So as a closer, I have been on a team before where the owner was not thinking like an owner. We were so siloed in the mindset that he continued to put 50,000 plus a month into ads. And he thought it was going to change what was happening. But really what was the problem was the offer did not align with what he was putting out there. And it just did not line up, and we were getting the wrong people. So the messaging was wrong. And so that insight of connecting these 2 pieces was huge. However, he threw away probably close to $500,000 on ads that didn't work. And part of that is he was thinking as a closer, get more people in, just shove more money, but it didn't answer the question. And that is part of the problem. If you don't have good insight to know what you're doing and seeing and testing the messaging, where it's landing, when are we having the most sales, all of those pieces, it won't line up. And that business insight is invaluable. And that kind of ties back to why I think discovery calls are so important as well, because that insight is telling us something. Now, pillar 2 are systems. Now, closers have a framework. That's part of one system as a business owner. However, owners need multiple systems. Systems for sales, marketing, service delivery, client management, make everything predictable. They remove inconsistencies from our calendar and replace them with stability, but also it allows us to step out of our role as the doer, the operator, and into the CEO role, because we can pass on those duties to somebody else because the systems are in place. So I have been a part of a business, and I was brought in early on in their company, and everything kind of felt duct taped together. We had a lot of different pieces and parts, and my job was to come in and bring it all together and streamline it. Everything felt chaotic. As a part of the team, it felt chaotic. And I know for sure the owner felt the chaos because that's why they decided to bring me in. But with that, after doing some evaluation using my climb framework, I was able to see where our biggest challenges were and then start to put the right systems in place. Now, this person made a ton of money. However, at one point, this person decided, okay, I feel the pain. It didn't matter how much money they were making. They knew they were capped because of the chaos and the pain that they were suffering, and they weren't able to take it to the next level and grow. And one of the feelings that this owner had said to me was that the feeling was everything relied on them and the growth was capped by their hours in the day. And that's so true, because the systems that were put in place afterwards allowed the owner to step back and put other people in place to run those systems so that we could grow well past the capacity of that owner. Now, pillar number 3 is leadership. And I don't mean this just in the as a leader, it's also in the mindset. So just think about this. Closers execute, owners lead. And leadership is what pulls you out of operator mode. It's how you focus on income producing activities, build a business that doesn't collapse without you. So I have mentioned this before. When I took over as the CEO of an IT company, I had my hands in everything because I thought I needed to do that to learn. And my mindset was really started because I initially started as an employee. So I still lived in that employee mindset. I didn't step back into the owner mindset because I thought I needed to do this. I needed to have my hands in here. I needed to learn each one of these things. But due to my mentor saying, wait a minute, here's what you need to do. And here's where you need to see the bigger picture. And my mind needed to be up here. I needed to put in CEO time. I needed to evaluate systems, figure out my KPIs, set goals. All of those things reminded me that I could not operate in that method anymore. I had to start thinking like an owner to accomplish the goals that we had set as an ownership team. And in that, part of it was I had to change my business model. And I certainly wasn't going to be able to think in that mindset and plan and strategically move our business from where it was to where it needed to go if I was still operating as an employee with my hands in everything. And so that made a very pivotal memory in my book throughout the rest of my career. I go back to that feeling of saying, I can't do this anymore. I have to act in this way. And what it allowed me to do was still grow the business, but lead in the way I needed to. Lead my team to our changes. We had huge changes, especially in a business model, but also my clients. and I had to lead them as well because they were all other business owners and they understood. And if I could have that conversation as a business owner to business owner and talk as a CEO, they understood. It wasn't a negative change within our business for them. It was a positive, and they took it on as something that maybe they should do as well. But putting that together in that leadership, and thank God I had that mentor who told me what to do and how to start thinking about it, because my goals would never have been met if I wasn't in the right headspace of thinking like a CEO and being that leader versus really just an executioner. So in addition to running the IT company, I also did sales, and I had to learn things the hard way. At first, I thought when I was looking at our numbers, I thought just more sales would fix everything. And on paper, it would. I mean, we were doing great. We had more clients, more revenue, things like that. But behind the scenes, things were chaos in the sales world in our company. And it wasn't that we didn't have the systems for delivery. As I mentioned, I was leaning into the leadership structure, but I was working in the business, not on it. And I really needed to start working on it. And that was really where the turning point happened. I changed the business model, and I had to realize that, sales alone wasn't enough. I had to have the trifecta for my clients so that I could really make this change. And the insight to my numbers was very helpful, because what I learned as thinking like a CEO is sometimes you don't need to go a mile wide and an inch deep. I needed to go half a mile wide and a mile deep within my clients. And what that allowed me to do was really start to systematize sales, but also use what I was learning as a CEO to put in place so that I could start really eliminating the bottlenecks that we were facing. And one of the bottlenecks that we were facing was people didn't know how to use their technology. And I had a ticketing system, and I could see that it was coming up constantly, that people just didn't have the capacity to answer some of the questions. And it was my team was a problem because IT guys don't know how to use your software or Word or Excel. That's not their job. So what I was able to really put in place that was huge was a trifecta for myself. So I used the insights that I knew I needed to go deeper within the clients. I had the systems for delivery. That was great. I also had to have that leadership to be able to sit back, look at my numbers. And what I came up with was a trifecta for my business. I was able to change the structure. And what that meant was I put in place, they needed the hardware and software, the support, but also the training, because I could give them anything. I can give them a computer, but I know that if I gave them a computer but didn't teach them how to use it, I was still going to get support tickets, which cost my business more money. So by putting in a program, and it's not important what the program was, but putting in something that I could solve all three of those problems for my clients was the trifecta. It changed my business model completely. And in that, I was also able to reduce the ticket volume by 30%, which was massive because all those tickets at 30% of tickets were all on how to use my computer. So all I had to do was put in some easy trainings for them, and I was able to save my team and really get to the heart of the issues that our clients were having that were tech issues, not training issues. So if you can think of it like that, and where you can step back and really put in place and use those insights and your numbers and what that looked like, put the systems in place to meet those needs, and then have that leadership to put it all together, you stop being the bottleneck and you really can grow and see things in a very clear way of what your path needs to be. And really for me, the growth became consistent, predictable, and sustainable. And that's what I'm here to help give to you. So let me ask you, and just think about this. Without the insights, are you guessing on most of your business? Like, for example, how many clients are going to come in next month from your marketing that you're currently doing? Do you know those numbers? Where will the money come from? Do you have the lines of revenue outlined with how much each one will make for you? That's the insight. What is that insight? How long do you retain clients? All of those pieces. Now, without systems, does every month feel like you're starting over? Or do you have a consistent engine that's producing consistent income where you have clients coming in, you have clients who are in your ecosystem already upgrading, and then upgrading again or moving into a different offer that you might have, or also referring. Those are all different ways that you can have an engine that's really providing you a path to consistency. And without leadership, are you running harder and deeper with all the things you have to do and over again, but you're still not scaling? Because all three of these things become a game changer. When you know your numbers, you trust your system, and you feel like a CEO of your business, everything changes. That's when you really turn that chaos, that place in your business, which is an actual stage, into the stabilization stage, which does equal consistent clients and growth. So after all these years in business, being in this space from a closer and seeing the inside of other coaches' businesses and being fractional and working on those businesses as well, and having my own coaching company, I knew that there were some things missing and I couldn't watch it happen any longer because I don't think it's fair to watch those numbers of 80% of women coaches quitting before 2 years. I don't think that's fair. That's not a fair chance. You didn't even get off off the ground and you're already stopping. It's because you're missing pieces. That's exactly why I created the Coaching Growth Lab. It's the only program that combines business insight, systems, and leadership, built on a proven and time-tested framework called CLIMB. It's not another 10K mastermind hiding the answer, and it's not a patchwork of courses that leave you guessing. This isn't theory. I know it because I have lived it. When I ran my IT company, I thought more sales would fix everything, but it wasn't until I built the systems and stepped into the leadership that we grew predictably. And later, working fractionally inside other coaches' businesses in the closer role or in operations, I saw the exact same thing. The ones who grew consistently weren't just pitching harder, throwing out more programs or more freebies. They had the 3 pillars in place: business insights, systems, and CEO leadership. And that's the difference between chaos and consistent clients. So here's your next step. Click the link below and join the Coaching Growth Lab today. Because if you keep guessing, you will stay in that phase of chaos so long. But if you are ready, joining the Coaching Growth Lab is going to give you the structure, support, and the systems you need to scale your business without burning out. Now, again, this is your invitation to stop spinning and start building a business that pays you back. And I am excited to see you on the inside. Click the link below to join.